Hey there, this is Cooper from Telepathic Bunny Comics. This is Mr. Luke Stone from Luke Stone Studios. And
That's me.
today, yay, this is we probably won't get very many people on today, but as you come in, we'll say hello. But this is pretty much for posterity at this point. But this is a companion piece to a episode 9 of Writer's Room called Pulp versus Noir, where we basically talked about the differences between them. But today, this was suggested also by Hojo, who suggested the previous one, but he's on vacation, so he won't be here. Yeah, the loser.
Vacation.
Anyway,
That'd be nice. Like
yeah,
I need
yeah,
a vacation.
he's
Everyone's
on
like, "What are
the
you talking about? You had a 5-month vacation." I don't really call that vacating.
Well, being a
Yeah.
coma is not necessary. Not
Oh yeah.
anyway. Yeah. Anyway,
Some heck
Bulk
of a nap.
Burkholder says hello, all waving at you through the screen. Hey, Eastland,
Hello,
what's up,
hello.
dude?
Yeah.
Hello, hello. Uh, but yeah, he's on the outer banks of North Carolina. People just do not know how beautiful it is out there. I mean,
Oh, it
white
is
beaches
gorgeous up
and
there. It
yeah,
is gorgeous.
and because hurricanes come through occasionally, the people can't really like build it up like they'd like. So and
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, yeah, it'd be as bad as Myrtle Beach if they didn't have a hurricane occasionally come through.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
so,
You know,
so
I moved to Jacksonville. They said
mhm,
we hadn't had a hurricane hit Jacksonville in 20
mhm,
years. I
right.
moved. They had one the first year. First year I lived here, they had one hit, and I was
Right,
like,
right, right.
you guys." They're like, "It's
Yeah,
you. You brought it."
yeah. You brought it. You brought it with you. Anyway. uh, this discussion's really important because for the most part, people don't know the differences between pulp and noir. And so
I
what I
don't.
thought we do,
I
yeah,
thought I did. I thought I did.
yeah,
You
yeah,
tell me that I don't know.
right,
So
right,
I am
hmm
going to be student today.
okay,
Um, and so, but I thought, okay, so here's what I
hmm
think pulp and
yeah,
noir is.
right,
And I think this is what most people think.
hmm
Pulp is more like the gumshoe,
yeah,
like detective, or like not powered individual, but
hmm
like, you're kind of like street hero.
right,
And noir has a
yeah,
darker or more tragic tone to it.
right,
Uh, that's what I think it is.
right, right. Well, that's pretty much common. That's what I thought it was when I started. No white sand beaches in Mississippi unless trucks in sand. Okay, gotcha. Yeah. Um, well, what it turns out to be, and I created the document. Let me bring it up for us. But let's see, share a screen, and that's a window, and here we go. Okay. All right. Brought this document up, and it's not showing at the stream. There we go. There we go. All right. Now, this is the pulp and noir are basically states of being. Uh, now, now they started out way back when they first started like plays. Remember Plato and all that? You know, the plays in Greek culture.
Yeah, yeah. Hmm.
Okay, they had two kinds of plays. Okay, they had the drama and or the tragedy,
In the
and they
comedy.
had the comedy. Okay,
Yes. Uh-huh.
now comedy didn't mean funny. Comedy meant happy ending, and tragedy
Okay.
meant uh,
Uh,
unhappy ending.
yeah.
Okay,
Okay.
all right.
Yeah.
So like Imperious, what's that one? What's the one where the Oedipus Rex? Okay, you know Oedipal complex, all that.
Yeah.
Oedipus Rex is considered a tragedy, okay, because nothing good happened to that guy.
Nothing
Okay,
good happened. Yeah.
right, right,
I've got a
right,
story like that. I've got a story like that. Yeah.
right. Well, I mean, you've married your own mother and all that. That's nothing's good.
That's
Nothing good
yeah.
happened there. Yeah,
I don't know.
right.
Yeah. It sounds like a story
Okay.
from Kentucky, not Greece.
Right, exactly, exactly. Noir, I watched that Turner Classic Network. Interesting. And Noir is about the mood. Actually, no, it's not.
Well, let's be
Okay.
educated here. So,
All right.
so,
Well,
so this stems from So let me
Yeah.
see if I follow. So
Okay.
pulp and noir
Mm-hmm.
stems from the
Yeah.
happy ending versus the not happy ending, or the tragedy and comedy from
Well,
old like
yeah. Yeah.
plays. Okay.
Right. Right. So I mean, it has its roots way, way, way back. Okay, but the modern terms. Okay, pulp was a kind of paper that they printed this stuff on. Okay.
Okay.
And noir was basically a variant of pulp that came out of French culture after the Revolution. The French like to kind of like twist things dark, so dark is noir is in France, right?
Yeah,
Okay,
the French are a-holes is what I heard.
yeah, pretty much, yeah, yeah. French are a holes. That's why noir. Anyway, okay, uh, but that's where the terms came from, but that's not where the concepts conceptual the concept is actually uh it basically goes even further back. It's you can find this in Bible. Okay, it's basically it's been in fiction all along. Okay, and what basically what pulp means and is an unchangeable. Let me go ahead and begin that. But it's a
Big, big in it.
yep, yep. It's an unchangeable moral compass. Usually, there's supernatural ability. It's aspirational and never compromise values or self. Okay.
So like
Now
it's
noir,
yeah. Okay.
yeah. Okay. So noir is situational ethics, down to earth and human, cautionary tale, and they lose self and they compromise their values. Okay. Now,
Okay.
okay. Now, how does that apply? Okay. It applies basically at the. Now that means that you can have a pulp character that's at its heart pulp, but occasionally he will go noir, or you can have a noir character that acts like a pulp character for once in his life. You know, a redemption story. The example we used last time that was so good that we really, really had a lot of fun with it was Tombstone. Okay.
Okay.
For instance, Wyatt Earp is a pulp character. Okay.
Good
You
at
know, he
his
has,
core.
yeah, good
Yeah.
at his core, uncompromising. But then he went noir when his brother got shot in the back. Okay.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, he went way noir. He
Yeah.
went
Okay.
pretty far. Okay.
So the
Um,
situation determined his ethics. At
yeah,
that point.
right at that point. But then his buddy is Doc Holliday. Okay. And Doc Holliday was always noir from the beginning. Okay, he's got situational ethics. He has no moral compass, and he's basically going to come to a bad end. He's very mortal. Okay, um, but then he lies to Wyatt that he can't make it. And then he takes his place and takes the risk upon himself, which is a pulp thing to do. Okay. So the noir character acted like pulp, and the pulp character acted like noir. But
Okay.
but but basically, so it's a state of being, basically, right?
Okay.
So it
So
goes deeper. It goes,
it's not a
yeah,
style. It's more
uh,
than a style.
right,
So you can have pulp and
yeah,
noir characters in the same
mm-hmm,
story.
right,
Is where that comes from. So if you're saying
right,
I'm going to write a pulp style book,
yeah,
you're saying there's going to be there's going to be a strong
mm-hmm,
moral compass to it.
yeah,
There's going to be unchanging. There might be some
mm-hmm,
supernatural involved.
yeah,
Maybe not, but
right,
it's a good guy.
yeah,
There's a
mm-hmm,
a victor, if you will,
right,
in it.
yeah,
Or if you're saying I'm going to write a noir style,
yeah,
it's situational and it throws people.
mm-hmm.
So that means the Watchmen would be noir,
All
and
except for Rorschach,
all except for Rorschach. Yeah,
right?
but the overall theme of that story is
Overall
noir,
theme of it, yeah, is noir. Yeah,
and Superman would be
mm-hmm,
pulp. The overall
yeah,
theme of Superman, and so what? So here with
mm-hmm,
this explanation, here's
yeah,
where I'm seeing a big problem.
okay,
If people don't know this,
yeah,
then what's happening is that's why you get characters being treated or mishandled and
mm-hmm,
fans being upset because they expect a Superman to have a strong moral compass, and when you break that, you make
Right.
this pulp character act noir.
Yeah.
It should be it should it should be at the pinnacle of something important.
Right.
It shouldn't be something that you just like lay into all the time with that
Right.
character. Like
Right.
so let me ask this. So as a
Mm-hmm.
student, I'm the student,
Okay.
you're the teacher. You
Yep.
are familiar with my story,
Yeah.
Hybrids.
Mm-hmm.
So from what you've told me,
Mm-hmm.
Trash Man is Pulp.
Oh, definitely.
Strong moral compass, always
Mm-hmm.
chooses the right path.
Right.
It doesn't matter. Puts everyone else before self.
Mm-hmm.
He just doesn't need to be told. He does the right thing.
Right. Yeah.
So if I were to put him in a situation
Mm-hmm.
where he does something outside of his character,
Yeah.
that's going to be a big deal. Like,
Oh yeah.
that's,
Oh yeah.
which
It'll
is
be
something
jarring. Yeah.
which is something I have not done,
Mm.
nor am I doing throughout
Right.
throughout the entire arc.
Mm-hmm.
Even the issues that are written but not drawn and published.
Yeah.
He is who he is. But then
Mm-hmm.
I've got characters that do somewhat situational.
Yeah.
Like Rev would be, by
Oh,
this
right.
description, Noir. He
Yeah.
would be Noir because even though he has a moral compass,
Mm-hmm.
the means,
He's willing to compromise it. A component. Yeah.
the means will justify the ends will justify the means.
Justify the means. Right.
Yeah.
Right.
And so his goal is to keep everyone alive. And
Yeah. Yeah.
whatever it takes to do that,
Mm-hmm.
then that even though he's never really a bad
Right.
guy. So Noir
No.
doesn't necessarily mean that you're a bad guy either.
No, it doesn't. It doesn't. Like Danny was probably a noir character at one point, but then he's Pulp now.
Yeah.
But it's like he learned his lesson. He's got a lot. There's a lot of water under that bridge.
Well,
but,
we're telling that story actually with a book that I'm writing right now called it was called For God and Country, but someone thought I said Forgotten Country, and I liked that better. So
right,
it's called
right.
Forgotten Country.
Yeah.
And now so he would have a noir background.
Right. Right.
And
but he's clearly Pulp now. I mean, he's
Oh,
clearly
yeah.
like he's like the Jiminy Cricket now. He's like,
really
I've
is,
been
yeah.
there, I've done that. You're better than this, right? Okay, Eastland Burkholder says noir is about the mood. Not necessarily. Nope. The Hell Peeps. Hello,
Indie
hey,
wrestling.
Indie Wrestling. Yeah. 24 Eyes. Hey, Mr. Owls. There's a whole bunch of owls. Noir might take a shortcut. Yeah, they might. They might indeed. Hey guys, what's shaking? Hey, Aaron. Pulp characters might be obeying a higher moral, not going rouge or noir. Okay.
I think they meant rogue.
Rogue.
I think they
Okay.
meant rogue, yeah.
Rogue, yeah. Rouge is also a French word, so why
It
not?
is.
Rouge means red, so there you go.
French.
And
noir means black, so red or
there
black.
you go. Red or black, right. But a character can do the right thing and know all and can create a bad outcome. Yes, yes, it can. That's why I'm saying it's not one thing or another. It's a state of being, right?
So you can have a pulp character that ends in a tragedy.
Yeah, you can. Yeah, you very much can. And as a matter of fact, it makes it even more tragic because he knew better.
Or you could write a noir book that ends as a comedy or a happy ending.
Right. You can.
Sure.
You can. But it's going to be a just dessert at the end, but sometimes that's hilarious, Hey, Shadowpunk. Yeah. Hey, and the distinction between noir and pulp is such a writer's show. Yeah, that's what I do. I do writer stuff. But yeah, so I mean, if you look at like even Bible characters, like Samson was a noir character.
Yeah.
But he ended pulp. And it took taking his eyes and taking his strength. But he discovered his strength was in the source of his strength to start with.
Yeah.
and he took the whole temple down on top of himself, and a very Pulp thing to do, self-sacrifice.
Yeah.
Uh,
Which,
but
I mean,
mhm.
would that ending be a comedy or a tragedy?
A bit,
A
that's
little bit of both, really.
a little bit of both. It was just desserts for the Philistines, but
Yeah. Yeah. Bad guy's
yeah.
gone, but our
Hmm.
hero's gone too.
Right, right.
Yeah.
But he lived that way. He basically ended up the only way he could have, because he compromised
Yeah.
his values all along.
Yeah.
It led all the way to the haircut. He compromised all the way to the haircut. But then you got David. King David was definitely Pulp, but then he had a noir moment, and the rest
Yeah.
of his story is noir. You know, it was like one
Well,
tragedy after another. You know.
there was a couple of tragedies, but no, he turned it around.
Well, yeah.
He went back pulp,
Right.
but his kids were
His
noir.
kids were noir. Yeah,
Yeah.
his kids were definitely. Absalom was classic noir. I mean, that guy didn't.
Absalom was
He
a
had no
that dude was
morals.
a that dude was a piece of work. I'm telling you.
Oh yeah, definitely, definitely.
I've
Um,
met a few Absaloms in my life.
oh, we all have. We all have. And most of them are PKs. Oh, okay.
Right?
Anyway,
I
uh,
I always, because you see
yeah.
my title, pastor, writer, artist.
Right.
Um, I decided to put that up there because I don't know. I just
Yeah.
why lean into it, even though actually
There you go. There
tomorrow
you go.
tomorrow's my
Hmm.
last Sunday.
Ah, right.
I won't officially be
Well,
a pastor from the
I
pulpit
think your
anymore.
flock. I think your flock is going to be your Christian show. And
I think
the
so.
people that, yeah. I think you got a bigger calling. I think you just got a
I
bigger
think so.
calling. Uh,
Let's figure.
anyway,
Let's. So, are you a pulp or noir character?
I am a noir character who does his best to try to be a pulp character.
Okay. I think
Anyway,
I'm pulp.
yeah,
I
I
think
think you're
I'm
very
pulp.
much pulp. Yeah, I do.
Yeah,
Um,
I think I'm
mhm,
pulp, but
right.
I like to dress in noir.
Yeah, you like to do the Heisenberg thing. Um, Let me
Yep.
see. Eastland says that pulp character can cause the tragedy. Yeah,
Yep.
that's true. That's true. Cool. Maybe I can learn something. I hope so, Shadowpunk. You definitely have a little girl who's got a noir world around her, but she's definitely pulp. I believe it. Which is good. Happy ending. Never. Definitely just look back at Ozymandias. He wanted to make the world better, but he did it in a way that that ruined a lot of people's lives. Yep.
Yeah, it
Yep.
reminds me of that David Bowie song,
Uh,
the man who stole or sold the world or whatever, stole the world, however that is.
yeah. Yeah.
It's like you try, and
Mm-hmm.
maybe that's. I think so. So me a
Right.
little bit. My
Yeah.
favorite stories are
Mm-hmm.
tragedies.
Right.
I love a sad ending. I don't know what it
Yeah.
is. Um,
Yeah.
I don't know what it is.
Mm-hmm.
I find the poetry in it. I really do.
Right.
I find the poetry in it,
Right.
and so I like the sad ending. I like
Mm-hmm.
the
Mm-hmm.
tragedy
Yeah.
very much, and I particularly like the tragedy with
Mm-hmm.
a pulp character at
Right.
its core.
Yeah.
I've written a rom-com,
Mm-hmm.
which is a romantic zombie
Zombie
comedy.
comedy. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so it is a romantic comedy set
Mm-hmm.
against the zombie apocalypse.
Yeah.
There's a guy that um, we don't really name him,
Mm-hmm.
um, but he is working as a sign boy for a
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
hot dog stand, hot dog
Right.
shop. So he has to dress in the hot dog suit
Yeah.
and fight off zombies while he's being the sign boy outside, right? But he's in love with
uh,
one of the local baristas around the corner. But he
yeah.
can never work
Mm-hmm.
up the courage to talk to her.
Right.
But
Right. Right. Yeah.
he's a pulp guy. He's always going to try to do the right thing. He's got a good
Mm-hmm.
heart. He's got a strong moral compass.
Yeah.
But in the end, um, I just crap on this guy through the whole story. I mean, I just take one
uh,
dump after the next on this guy.
Well, you're a pulp guy, but you're a noir writer.
Maybe, yeah. Maybe. I'm really good at writing dark stuff. I don't
You
know
really
why.
are. You really are.
I
You
really
really
am.
are. Well, if you want to talk about pulp character, the epitome of pulp character is Jesus. He was
Oh,
Jesus.
yeah,
He was
obviously.
pulp all the way, and he, all the way to the end, and then beyond the end.
Yeah.
But anyway, it wasn't the
Yeah,
end, but it turns out.
the end's not there yet. We haven't,
Yeah,
yeah. That part's
but
not going to get written.
you could call that story a tragedy, and if it ended the way people thought it ended, it would have been a tragedy, but it wasn't.
Yeah.
But that was a pulp character. He kept his moral compass the whole way through, and even changed people's minds all the way up to the very last breath. And that's
Pierre
what
Noir.
pulp is. Yeah, that's the aspirational part of pulp.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, let's talk about Paul for a second.
Mm-hmm.
As a person, as a biblical character that we read,
Right.
but as a real person.
Right. Yeah.
He, even when he was killing Christians, he was pulp.
Okay. Yeah, he was.
Because he had a strong moral compass.
Right.
And what he was doing was for
righteous.
that end, was righteous.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
But it just turns out he was on the wrong side. So you could have a villain who's pulp.
Who's pulp? Yeah. One would argue Victor Von Doom is. Yeah. You could argue that Victor Von Doom is a pulp character.
True. Yeah.
I mean, to his people love him. And he's just a villain to the rest of the world,
Okay.
But he's well.
So
yeah.
I see Shadowpunk talking about the Big Lebowski. Are we talking about?
Nah.
Are we talking about the dude or the Big Lebowski? Because there's Lebowski and then there's the dude. I think the dude is pulp.
Mm-hmm.
I think
yeah, he had his own. The dude abides. He had his own. He had a moral compass. Yeah. Hell, everyone, love the subject. Hey, man, Curious Comics, welcome in.
Welcome.
David was pulp. He went noir in a big way. He murdered, but yeah, he did return to pulp, but it cost him a lot. Agree, Aaron. The tragedy brought about by the pulp, morally good character. Yeah. Okay. I am pulp. I try to do right. Yeah. Yeah, some of us just it's a little harder for us to be the good guy.
Tragedy.
My brain just spun around inside my head. Rom-zom-com.
Yeah, a rom-zom-com.
Yeah. New good intentions and actions in an obscure world try to do right, but what is the right thing here in this story? Interesting to me, right? Let me see. So we got a lot of comments here, but we need the noir guy to suggest shortcuts and really bad ideas, right? Yeah. Turn to the dark side. We have cookies, right? Judas Noir stole from the money bag. Yeah, he's definitely noir. Judas had no moral compass. Evening, everyone. And speaking of Burkholder, it's Big Lebowski. Oh, yep. Okay. The dude, right? The dude. Okay.
So talk about the dude. The dude is definitely pulp.
Definitely pulp. Definitely. Paul always tried to do right, but was misguided, and he had trouble with the hierarchy. Right. And all right, Rambo. There are no innocents. Okay. Dean is watching.
Welcome, Dean.
Yeah.
Well, let me ask this.
Shoot, go ahead.
What if someone has a strong moral compass?
Yeah.
Like they know, like they're good at the core, they're good, but they would use whatever means necessary to achieve the end.
Right.
How really do you see? So I said Rev would be a noir character because of that, but he is good at his core.
Right.
The result he's going for is good. But it's kind of like Peacemaker.
Yeah. Right. Yeah.
The new Peacemaker, not the old Peacemaker, the new one.
Yeah.
You know, the
The
end is
one that's
good.
just like, yeah.
I'll do anything for peace, no matter how many
Mhm.
men, women, and children I have to kill. Right.
Right. Right.
So I guess so. Really, so how do you classify one of those people that
Well,
whatever the situation to
yeah.
achieve that goal? So
Well, if you go back to what what we were talking about earlier, that they're aspirational. Uh, so even if you have a bad guy who has that moral compass, if the moral compass causes him to do bad things, then then basically the moral compass isn't the determining factor. The determining factor is the outcome of his actions. Yeah, let me bring that back up right quick. So, anyway, so you got unchangeable moral compass, you got supernatural attributes, aspirational, never compromise values or self. But so basically, that's you have to also pay attention to the outcome of the actions. Are the outcome of the actions positive or negative? You know, in the long run, and do they encourage other people to be to aspire to be them? You know, um, and so yeah, we were talking earlier that yeah, bad guys. Some bad guys have a moral compass. You know, but at the same time, if their actions are creating chaos or are causing damage in the world, then you can't really call them pulp. They might
but
think
why?
they're pulp,
I mean, but why
right?
can't you? I mean, why can't you? Like, if you're
Well,
writing that character, you're writing them as a pulp
yeah.
character,
To
even
themselves, they're
though
pulp. To themselves, they're pulp, but
I
to
mean,
the rest of the world,
but
yeah,
as a writer,
yeah,
you treat them as a pulp character.
right,
You know, like
right,
they're
right,
because they have an unchangeable
yeah,
moral compass,
right,
and they have their set of ethics. They
right.
may not be in line with our set of like
Uh,
everybody else's set of ethics.
yeah,
Um,
yeah. A good example, Punisher. Punisher
yeah,
has a set of ethics, so that he's very ethical to himself, but he's willing to do whatever it takes to get to his goal, and you know, kill whoever he has to kill, you know, to get there. And
what
and
about
so and
Dexter?
so Dexter, right, right.
Right. So
Well,
how would
yeah.
that?
See, I mean, it gets a it's like basically that's why you have to determine the outcome. What's the outcome of their actions, right?
Yeah,
Uh, but Dexter, he killed people. Yeah,
he
but
did, but he
yeah,
killed bad people.
he killed bad people. But at the same time, along the way, he also killed good people. You know, like the officer that finally figured him out. He killed that guy.
Yeah, yeah,
You know, and as much as we hated that guy, as much as they set him up to be hated, he was actually a pulp character because
yeah.
he knew him from. He knew this guy there was something wrong with this guy from day one. He smelled him out. So, uh, and that
So
wound up ultimately,
so
yeah.
would so would Dexter technically be pulp until he killed the
Hmm.
cop and then he was Noir?
Well, that was Noir when he killed the cop, and there, you
Yeah.
know,
Okay.
I mean,
So but it shows like
yeah,
there's nuance
there's
in
a lot of nuance. There's a lot of
in
nuance.
these
Yeah,
things.
right,
Um,
right.
and then if you
Hmm.
take the the Greek understanding
Yeah,
of storytelling,
yeah.
you know, whether it be
Hmm.
a tragedy or a comedy,
Right.
you can it's like it's almost like music theory.
Hmm.
Until you learn the chords and how they go together, you
Right.
can't really embellish much
Right.
or get creative with how you use those things. You've got to
Yeah.
learn the basics
Hmm.
of music before you
Yeah.
can get to the more advanced stuff.
Bass clef, treble clef.
Yes, you have to
Yeah.
understand rhythm. It's like what I tell a lot of people. It's like I'm actually getting ready to
Hmm. Yeah.
do a video and post it up tonight. That's
Hmm.
3 tips. I can't get given the wrong hand. 3 tips.
Yeah.
3 tips. 3 tips to make a more dynamic panel.
Right.
And I'm going to do one that has tips to make a more dynamic page sequentially and stuff like that. But we're going to start with a panel.
Yeah.
And, a lot of people don't know this, but when you're doing graphic design, I have a background in education and graphic design.
Right.
That some people say there's 7 rules. My teacher broke it down to 3 because you need 3 rules. This will work for animation, work for cartooning, it will work for commercial design, all this stuff. It's simple. It's rhythm, it's contrast, and it's hierarchy.
Yeah.
And if you know how those 3 things can apply to what you're working on, then you can do whatever you want creatively, as long as you're keeping those 3 rules in mind. And it kind of feels like this is the writing equivalent to that. If you understand pulp, noir, comedy, and tragedy, those 4 things, and you know how to identify them and or write them, then you can really get creative with your storytelling.
Right. Right.
And an observation I'm making right now is that there's a lot of people out there in the professional sense that are writing that maybe don't understand this, don't have a grasp on it at all.
Right. And the reason why it changed my writing when I started looking into this, because this is the source code. This is the ones and zeros. This is the ones and zeros.
Sense.
And one more comment. What's the opposite of film noir? Film blanc? No, too close to film blank. Film light film. I don't know. I don't know what you would call that. That's not really what this discussion's about. Anyway, but this is the ones and zeros. Like, I was having trouble with my script. I showed you the hole that I thought was in it, and but when I went back today, I was thinking about this show, and it suddenly occurred to me, my Pulp character was acting noir for 50 years. And he was turning his back on people in need because he told himself that he had to stay in the capacity that he was in. They convinced him that he could be part of the intelligence apparatus, that he could no longer be a hero. He can no longer be an active hero, but he could stay in that intelligence apparatus, but he had to stay up, he basically had to keep his hands out of the hero game. Right. And so he convinced himself that's where he could do the most good. But then he finds out after 50 years, that they hadn't been using any of his observations for like the last 10 or 20 years. Well, and
technically, I guess he would be acting noir at that point. But if he convinced himself that was the case, then he's still being.
Well, he didn't lose it. He didn't lose his moral compass, but he wasn't like he didn't follow his impulses And so I realized that I had to that my whole entire book is based on this guy getting back to his pulp, the pulpness of him, the guy that can't stay on the sidelines, the guy that can't turn his back, the guy that has to intervene. The whole entire thing is about him intervening in this impossible situation, coming out of retirement and doing this thing. And once I realized that the whole entire thing, that 50 years that he was sitting on the sidelines, was he like convinced himself that this was the way he could still be a hero. But then he finds out basically when he exercises his powers for the first time in those 50 years, that his hand moves. The one that he thought was useless moves. So they lied to him about that too. So, but because he never attempted to use his power, he just aged and he just stayed on the sidelines. But because he never really attempted to use his power, he didn't realize that he could use his hand, or that he still had his power. And
this is where they messed up with the new Star Wars movies, because Luke Skywalker is Pulp.
Yeah.
And they made him a noir character.
Him a noir character. Yeah.
And,
that was why everybody knew that's not Luke. That's not Luke. And
see,
Mark Hamill. Mark Hamill, stupid leftist that he is, knew that it was wrong. Even
Yeah,
Mark Hamill knew it was wrong.
so I think that we can identify usually that something is not right,
Yeah.
but I don't know that we know to articulate exactly what that is. And but I think this idea of between pulp and noir,
Yeah.
understanding those, it helps us to be able to identify when we
Yeah.
notice something's not right.
Right.
Um,
Right.
so it works in that capacity, but more so,
Mm-hmm.
it will help. I think it helps in writing
Yeah.
in the sense,
Oh yeah.
trying to apply
Definitely.
this knowledge now, this new
Mm-hmm.
knowledge to to what I do,
Right.
to add flavor
Mm-hmm.
to a new character. Now,
Yeah.
but one of my favorite writers for writing characters
Mm-hmm.
is a guy named Greg Daniels, who
Right.
is responsible for The Office and Parks and
Ah.
Recreation. Right.
Right. Mm-hmm.
So he has a rule that you
Mm-hmm.
never that as you're developing the character, you
Yeah.
never develop them more than like 5% over a season.
Right.
So like if you
Right.
first meet a character in season one, or like in
Mm-hmm.
the mid seasons, by the end you're like, that character is completely different or feels
Ah.
very
Right.
different from what they
Yeah.
were. They were kind of likable there, and you hate them
Mm-hmm.
now. Just take like Ed Helms' character Andy, for
Yeah.
instance. That those changes were made gradually over
Right.
time, and so he kind of had that rule, never do
Mm-hmm.
a big change with your character, make it
Right.
gradual. So if you're going to take your, so I look at that as I'm developing my characters, trying to,
Mm-hmm.
create more layers to my to this big pulp character,
Mm-hmm.
trash
Yeah.
man, that
Mm-hmm.
that as he develops and he becomes more nuanced, that
Yeah.
what made him is still there. See, that's the other
Right.
thing that Greg Daniels says: never change
Mm-hmm.
the core of what they are.
Right.
They may be
Right.
likable here and unlikable there, but the
Yeah.
core of who they are was always there. With Andy, the core was always there,
Mm-hmm.
and it
Yeah.
comes back, and you see that at the very end.
Right.
But you don't change the core of who they are. They are who they
Mm-mm.
are, and then
Yeah.
you nuance the character, but never more than 5%, because
Right.
an audience that's too jarring of a change.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So as I'm writing this character, that's what I try to do.
Mm-hmm.
We're getting ready to ship issue 8.
Yeah.
I think it should be on its way very soon.
Right. Right. Yeah.
Zach is
Mm-hmm.
working hard to get it cranked out, and
That's good. That's good.
yeah, he's on it right now, actually.
Cool.
And
Mm-hmm.
so issue 8 has a
Mm-hmm.
lot more depth to that character than issue 1, but the
Right.
core of
Yeah.
who was always there in issue 1. So
Right. Right. Well, that's a let me get caught up here. Agent Zero, just shut up. What's up? What's up, dude? Agency is the word, not steered or misled. Right. True, Aaron. The comment Aaron made was this one here. I don't know. A hired hand could be Pulp. They could be taking the money in order to do something good with it. It all depends on the motive. Yeah, motive is very important. Very important.
I might be
And
working with a
mhm.
creator right now on a book that's like that.
Yeah. Right. Why is the bunny pointing at me? I'm mesmerized. Yeah. Anyway.
Yes.
There you go. He's Ironside's dad. It makes sense. All right. Okay. Writer has to understand the core to do that. Right. He does. He does have to. Since pulp is a genre is unafraid of mass appeal, the character must also embody this persona. Okay. Well, that's the thing. Let's talk a little bit of like noir characters, like Chinatown. You ever see Chinatown?
Yeah.
Okay, Jake Getz, that whole entire movie had his foot on the brake, trying to slow things down. If you look, he got drugged through that whole entire movie, like just kicking and screaming the whole way, and it was like and at the end of it, it was just like he could not stop anything that happened. And at the end of it, never mind, Doug, it's Chinatown, right? But the thing about it is, though, is if you watch, he never really compromised his ethics the whole entire way. The whole entire thing was like things that were done to him or that he was involved in involuntarily. And so, in a lot of ways, Jake Getz was a pulp character in a noir story, and but it had a noir ending, a noir story, and a noir ending, But in a lot of ways, he was pulp the whole entire way. But then he, they just
everything around
got
him
pulled
didn't
into
have
it.
ethics. Everything around
Exactly,
him didn't have the ethics. So it ended
right.
as a tragedy.
Yeah. But then you look at Watchmen and you see Rorschach. Rorschach is definitely pulp. He was pulp to the core. And yet he had a tragic ending because he could never compromise enough to be part of this noir world, And so a lot
Good
of ways
guys
that
never
was
win kind of attitude, kind
right.
of scenario.
Right. And it's like when Night Owl was beating on Ozymandias, and he's like, it doesn't matter that this was a good result. You ruined it. You warped humanity just to do this. And but then he was silent. He would, he didn't give up the secret.
Yeah, it's like you broke it.
Yeah, you broke it. And Ozymandias Ozymandias is like, yeah, I know I broke it, and I'll feel the damage of everybody that I did this to, which is whether that's true or not, I don't know. I mean, somebody that's that sociopathic, I can do that. I doubt he feels anybody's emotions, but anyway. But the thing about it is, though, is when you start seeing the difference between pulp and noir, you start understanding, how they fit together, in a story, like Tombstone, Doc Holliday, what was that line, White's got plenty of friends, and he's like, well, I don't, that whole entire thing, he was counting on White to be his compass, his moral compass, because he didn't have one, And so if he would go along with whatever Wyatt told him was the good thing, like, oh, we need to go kill the Clantons. Okay, boom. Yeah, I'll bring my shotgun. Yeah. He was like basically Wyatt Earp's attack dog. But then when Wyatt Earp went off the reservation and started hunting people down and things like that, he went along with him. But then he was like, "You're acting like me right now. This ain't right."
Hold on a second. Yeah. It's pretty bad when your noir character knows your pulp character's off his
right,
hinges, right?
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah, but I think so. I've always that movie Tombstone, I've always related to Wyatt Earp. I just he's that kind of character that I'm like, historically, it's like if I were alive at that period, I feel like I might have been a Wyatt Earp, I'd have been the preacher with a shotgun. I guarantee I would have been. Because I'm the preacher with an AR-15 now. So
so don't come calling. Don't come calling.
Yeah, that's why I'm not worried.
To the parsonage, at the middle of the night.
People are like, you gotta look out, because a couple of war campaign people started getting me a hassle. Like, you gotta work out. They get violent, and I'm
like, you want my address? Anyway, well, this is a good question. Is our quintessential pulp character? I think like Doc Savage is a quintessential pulp character.
Superman, quintessential.
Not what they're doing to him now, but
he was Boy Scout. We're talking Boy Scout.
Yeah.
Honestly, Batman is pulp.
Batman.
Unwavering
I'll say that.
morals.
To the exclusion of all else, including his friends, his loved ones, and everything else. Yeah.
Did you know he started out using a gun and would kill people?
Yeah. Started out noir. Yeah.
Started out noir. And they made him pulp. So they got a hold of him and made him pulp. It was when he became pulp that he got popular.
Right.
Like super popular.
Yeah.
Which is odd, because the character was somewhat popular.
Yeah.
But it was, and so pulp doesn't mean it's in color. Noir doesn't mean it's in black and white.
No, no. As a matter of fact, if you want to say something is black and white, Pulp, morally is black and white most of the time.
Yeah,
Uh, and Noir is all grays, all gray areas.
all
You
great.
turn down, like the contrast on when you're
Yeah,
Noir. Anyway, Peter Catania is here. Hey man, thank you for coming in. Ozzy will feel the damage when he goes to his bed chambers. Okay, moving on. Our quintessential noir character for that matter. Okay, quintessential noir. Well, that's the
Joker.
thing, Joker. Oh yeah, definitely Joker.
Joker.
Definitely Joker. You gotta look for
Penguin.
somebody with, yeah,
Penguin.
Penguin.
Yeah.
Right, right,
Lex
right.
Luthor.
Lex Luthor.
Wait,
Yeah.
all the best villains are a great
Yep.
noir character.
The great noir characters. Yeah, yeah.
Alexa, stop. Alexa.
Mm-hmm.
Apparently, she
Well,
thought I said it's true.
she's listening. She's listening.
Catwoman.
Anyway.
Catwoman is a great noir character.
Yep. But then,
Super awesome.
But then she skews Pulp upon occasion. She's capricious, depending on situation. But again, situational ethics. So I guess you would say at her core she's noir.
She's noir,
yeah. Yeah. Hold on one second. So Agent Zero says Joker said best when he said, "Wait till they get a load of me." Yeah, yeah. Did Bob Kane make him Pulp or other writers? Bob Kane was ripping off Shadow serials when he first conceived Batman. Batman was a Shadow ripoff. Bill Finger was the one that clarified him and made him Pulp.
Yep.
So, yeah.
The Batman that we have today.
Yeah.
It's Bill Fingers responsible for
Fingers.
the writing, the story of who Batman is.
Yeah.
The visual, Bob was just responsible for the visuals.
Yeah. Of course, he was tracing. So you can't even say that. Anyway, I think that the Batman at his heart has always been pulp. The recent writers have added in elements of noir to make the vendetta more personal. Yeah,
yeah, I think so.
That's a good point. That's a good point.
I wouldn't disagree with that.
No, I wouldn't disagree with that at all. But you got somebody like Moon Knight. Now, Moon Knight seems like he'd be noir because he's so crazy.
Yeah.
But Moon Knight has a moral compass. He has it's a possibly fictional Egyptian god called Khonshu. But he operates off of a moral compass,
Yeah.
But he skews a line. I mean, he does a lot of things that are very, very noir-like,
Yeah, but then again, noir isn't. Noir and pulp is a state of being. It's not a style. Yeah. So your style could be dark and bloody and aggressive and violent, but you at your core can still be pulp. So that's the interesting thing about some of these characters. So writers start using some of this stuff. Start thinking about some of your characters, some of your villains. Like Thanos. That's pulp.
Yeah, he's a pulp character.
That is pulp. That is
he's willing to sacrifice or do whatever,
The Thanos that was written in the MCU. Okay.
Yeah, MCU.
Because the Thanos in that's not the Thanos in the comics. That Thanos is
Thanos did everything he did to
impress a girl.
Knock boots with Death. Lady Death. He's trying to impress Lady Death.
Yeah, and then and then didn't Deadpool wind up marrying her?
Yeah, Deadpool did. Yeah.
Not that he wanted to. Not that he wanted to.
He wanted to. No.
Yeah.
That's funny. Deadpool is definitely noir. Deadpool is definitely noir.
Very noir.
That's a quintessential noir right there.
And a great justification of Rob Liefeld did another great thing with that. So he created Deadpool, but he also created Cable, and Cable is very pulp. And
Cable
the two of
pulp as they come.
I think it's the juxtaposition of a great noir and a great pulp character, whether they are foes,
right,
or whether they are friends.
exactly.
It's that creates an interesting, like a White Urban Doc Holiday. It creates an interesting dynamic in your storytelling.
Oh, definitely, definitely. It's once you understand, once you see this pattern, it really clarifies things in your writing. I mean, it's really helped me tremendously when I started figuring out. I mean, this is the source code, ones and zeros. I mean, everything is going to come down. Is going to come down. Do they have a moral compass or not? And
it's
when they
foundational
act,
stuff.
it's foundation. It's foundational. And that way, because there's something that where people make their biggest mistakes, is they make their biggest mistakes in character consistency. You know, most of the mistakes I see are when somebody doesn't have that baseline character trait. The character is from frame to frame to frame. Yes, there's alterations that can happen to the character as the story goes, but there's a core truth about that character that cannot change. You cannot alter it, or you lose the character entirely in your fiction. And understanding if what you're dealing with is a noir character or a pulp character can help you understand how that character is going to operate, how they're going to operate, what truth are they going to operate from.
Yeah. Well, I know we're coming close up to the probably what the end of what your broadcast normally is, but I just had a thought that I wanted to share that might be useful.
Okay, go ahead.
So let's say you are a noir character, and you are forced into a pulp situation.
Yeah.
As long as you're being pulp, eventually you're going to break. There's going to be a thing that's going to break. I'm reminded of the Standing Tall, the movie. I don't know if you remember this, where that character, he goes,
walking tall.
That's it. He just has a break. He has a break and he just goes off. That was who he was the whole time.
Right.
That guy was who he was the whole time, but he lived what he was living was a lie, and so there was an internal conflict that finally came out, and what you saw was who he was, and vice versa. When Wyatt Earp goes noir, there's a tension.
He sprung back to true.
Yeah, because he had to, and it wouldn't, because that time he learned a lesson that didn't make me happy.
No,
I wasn't true to myself. It didn't solve the problem.
No,
so I'm going to go right back to who I was before.
Yeah,
and we see it a lot with like these, in the stories where the bad guy has to be a good guy.
Yeah.
And
There's a New 52 book. It was a Justice League book, and in the Justice League was basically completely totally sidelined by this event that happened, and nobody was there to defend the Earth from this evil Justice League that came over across the dimension and came over, and so the villains were like, we're going to lose our Earth unless we intervene. And so the villains had to defend the Earth. And like Lex Luthor.
I remember that one. I loved it. I love that.
It's my favorite book. It's my favorite book out of the whole thing.
It was some of the best writing in that era from DC.
Oh, it was awesome. It was awesome. Some of that 52 stuff was awesome, man.
Yeah.
And there was like this one moment where the Atom from that other world was a woman, right? And she was the one. She put a sliver of kryptonite in our Superman's brain, and disabled him, made it the whole thing possible. And then Lex Luthor sees that she's still alive, and she's like, have mercy on me, and he's like, I'm not the hero. I'm a villain. And he just stomps her, man.
Yeah.
He stomps her. He's like, well,
I'm a bad
you're
guy.
asking me? You're asking me? But then at the beginning
it's like one gang moving in on another gang's territory.
Exactly. Exactly. And it's like it's really brilliant because they did everything because they're like, I'm planning on conquering this Earth. You can't have it, And But I mean, they killed the hell out of everybody that came over here, and it's just like, but then they released the Justice League at the end of it. You know, they just had
it's like Omni-Man, like
right,
Omni-Man saving Earth from that
right,
alien invasion. Everyone thinks he's a hero. No, it's because he's saving Earth for his people to invade.
right, exactly. The funny thing about it, though, is beginning of it, he kills Ted Kord's father, and at the end of it, he gives Ted Kord a LexCorp like a scholarship to go through school, and gives him keeps him control of his father's company. You know, it's like, and it's like he's having to evaluate now. It's like, I did this good thing, and I kind of like being the good guy for once. What do I do with myself now?
That's kind of good, yeah. And that's always nice too, in like a character development. Like, let's say they've always done like this. They've always been Pulp, okay, and they do something bad, Noir, and they like it,
right,
you know, and they like, I think I'm going to chase that feeling. So that's interesting when you take a good guy to bad guy. But for me, it's even more interesting when you take a bad guy to good guy, when they're like, I kind of like in Megamind, what a dumb show, like like movie, for an example.
That movie, but
it was well written. I enjoyed it. We watched it so much because we had a van that had a DVD player in it,
right?
And when the DVD Megamind got stuck, and so that's all that ever played. And we couldn't even get the radio to work. It was just Megamind playing on loop every time we were in the van. So I heard Megamind a lot. Yeah. I heard a lot, but it was well, sorry.
But once you understand these patterns, though, it really just clarifies everything. Me and Kimosabi last time, we were kind of just like riffing off of it, and they were like, "Holy shit! You could just keep going, And it's like this pattern that once you see the pattern, you can't unsee it now." And then you start evaluating everything in terms of pulp or noir, because it is a state of being. It's not an aesthetic. It's not like a style. It's actually just a state of being. And for better, I mean, there's probably better terms for it, but the pulp noir, it just especially back at the beginning, because this is the ones. This is the beginning of everything superhero in America, was pulp magazines. It was beginning of everything, and so everything, the DNA of our Western superhero creation is in these the pulp magazines, right?
Well, and herein lies the problem. We have a lot of writers that want to do this thing called deconstruction. So they'll take a pulp character, deconstruct them to noir character,
right?
But they never do any reconstruction.
No,
bringing them back. They never do the Wyatt Earp thing. Bring him back to true.
Yeah,
they never bring him back to true, and that's why, in my opinion, the state of comic books right now is failing. And I'm going to have a discussion at some point. I think just a special discussion about a post that Rob Liefeld made about the certain age group of people. Like their work's never going to be shown. I'm never going to publish it.
Oh yeah, I'm never going to publish it. Yeah, because they're too precious. They won't take criticism. They won't take advice.
So entitled. They're entitled. And so that's something I want to talk about. Yeah, because it's those people that are they're running the comic book industry right now.
Right.
And they're running it straight into the ground, I think, in my opinion. And I know there's people out there that will disagree with me and say, you're just an idiot. But,
a note from Craig, Penny Dreadfuls. The Penny Dreadfuls were before the pulps, and they kind of led into the pulps. But the Penny Dreadfuls are. But that whole there's also like an element of supernatural with pulp characters. Yeah. We discussed that right as the last thing. Most of the time, even if you have an entirely human pulp character, there's something supernatural about them, like their determination's supernatural, or their fastest gun is supernatural.
Their
or you
their
know, or
will, yes, in most cases.
their will is supernatural, right? But yeah, but
And people
you
misunderstand the word supernatural.
yeah,
Natural is what we know. Super is beyond natural.
beyond that,
So you
yeah.
don't have to be super powered to be
Mm-mm.
supernatural. You know.
No,
Yeah.
no. I mean, I've met some people that had like supernatural attributes. You know, that they were just like, yeah, this uh my grandmother, Savannah, she had a willpower that was supernatural. I mean, I saw her like bend men twice her size to her will. You know, it just like the stern look that she would give them, and they're like, "Okay, man, okay, ma'am." You know, I mean,
Yeah.
just things like that. It's like this little lady was like this tiny lady that could just flicker like that, and she would be, you know, she would be gone.
Yeah.
But it's just that willpower that she had, that you know, that focus on it.
Jolene had supernatural powers.
There you go. I mean, you could
I mean,
steal a woman away from Dolly Parton.
anybody that Dolly Parton is
You can
concerned about.
steal somebody away from a woman with a rack like that. I mean, that's supernatural right there.
I mean, not
Anyway,
only that,
good.
have you seen? I mean, Dolly hasn't changed much, and I think a lot of that.
No.
I think she's got a good surgeon. But back when she wrote that, so on the
Yeah.
same day that
Yeah.
she wrote Jolene, she wrote "I Will Always Love You."
Yeah. The
Two
same day.
amazing songs the same day, and it's
Same
about
day.
and it was about the same thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
The guy that Jolene don't take
Right.
away my man, and this
Yeah.
I'll always like. What a cool thing to think about that. I love
Right.
that insider information.
Yeah. Yeah. That's incredible. She says that was a very successful afternoon.
Yeah. You think?
You think? Anyway, good afternoon, gents. Shame Kimosabi's not here. This is a topic he's clued up about. Yeah. Well, he was actually sick. I wanted him to be here, but he was actually ill this week. But I'm glad Luke came. I think it was even better having somebody to teach it to, you know, to see if it holds water, you know, see if the theory holds water, you know. I think it does. Deadpool was in love with death. Thanos made her keep was mad. He kept getting cucked, cursed him with immortality because he knew he could never have her. Yep. There you go. I'm deaf using this dichotomy in Shadowpunk. Yeah. Yeah, use it, man. Use it. Example, cartoon Darkwater, blonde prince on the quest, helped by the shifty pirate. Old trope before comics quest story, right?
Yep.
Which was based on Treasure Island.
Yeah.
You got Jim Hawkins, who's a pulp character, being helped by a noir character in John Silvers.
That dichotomy works, man.
Yeah, straight into the ground on purpose. Yeah, right.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think once I started understanding this ones and zeros, this source code, I finally started understanding what they're doing, because they don't understand what they're doing, and we do, because we know that
We're taking the time to apply ourselves to the craft. Learn.
Yeah.
You've got to always be a student. I came here not knowing these things. I didn't watch the last video. I don't get to watch everybody's videos, unfortunately. I wish I did. Wish I had the time to do it. But
that's fine.
We apply ourselves to the craft. I mean, if you want to be a good writer, find out what good writers do. Look at if you want to be a good storyteller, look at good stories. True and fictional, both.
Yeah.
And now what we did, we took a couple of true stories and we saw the dichotomy in it. We found the characters in it.
Right.
We determined if it was a tragedy or a comedy. If there was noir or pulp elements to it.
Right.
And
right. Well, when you look at the Bible is like the basically the the beginning of all Christianity. I mean, it's the beginning of like the whole entire that piece of fiction is the oldest known continuous run of scripture of existence that we have. I mean, it goes all the way back, and there's like few gaps in its history. We basically know, further back than any other piece of literature that we have, and in the Bible you find both noir and pulp.
Yeah.
And so if God, who wrote the thing, considers that important, and maybe this is something that we should consider important.
And the greatest conversion of all is someone who doesn't have a moral compass,
right?
That gets one,
that gets one.
That Noir character that has a complete about face to that Pulp character. Very cool, very cool. Right. Yeah, I like what Easton says. Happy days, Richie and Fonzie. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, exactly. Right. I mean, that's what you got.
Yeah. Fonzie wound up Pulp at the end, also jumped the shark, but it is shark. Anyway, thank you for coming, Luke. I think it's been very successful. It's been very successful show. I think it's going to be definitely rewatchable. So
it's been fun. It's been fun.
Yeah. Have I convinced you? Are you a convert?
I'm convinced. I'm convinced.
Okay. All right. Cool.
You stated your case well.
All right. Good deal. Yeah. All right. That's all. That's what I wanted to do. All right. Well, that has been Cooper from Telepathic Bunny Comics. This has been Luke Stone from Luke Stone Studios. Yep. Let me go ahead and let's see. Let me cut this background music off. So, anyway, let's see. All right. There we go. I realize it plays through everything, when you close it out. All right. Thank you, gentlemen, the fluffiest chat and all of YouTube. Thank you, Luke, for showing up and helping me out here. And that has been Cooper from Telepathic Bunny Comics, and y'all have a good night. All right.
Have a good one.
Tell me what's on your mind.